First up, let's begin with a breaking update. What we are learning from the Supreme Court as the matter was taken up by the Maharashtra government in connection with the 7/11 Mumbai blast case. The top court has gone ahead to put a stay on the High Court order. The Supreme Court says that there is no need to bring the accused to jail. However, the SG has said that they are not pressing for a stay on the release. But the Supreme Court says that the respondents have already been released as far as when it comes to these developments are concerned. In the Mumbai Train blast case, acquittals by the High Court, the Supreme Court has now issued a notice on the Maharashtra government's appeal. And the Supreme Court says that certain observation by the High Court on question of law and application of Makoka. And this after the SG said that it will have consequences in other pending Makoka trials as well. The SG, however, did not insist on the stay of all release of all convicts, noting that all of them have already been released. This means that none of the accused will now have to return to jail. But these are the developments that are now come to light as far as when it comes to the Mumbai blast case is concerned. The Supreme Court has called for a stay on the acquittal of the rarest of rare while hearing Maharashtra government's plea against the Bombay High Court verdict, acquitting 12 in the 2006 Mumbai train blast case. Now, the Maharashtra government, which has challenged the acquittal of the 12 accused in the Supreme Court, where the Bombay High Court overturned the 2009 verdict, sentencing 5 to death and 7 to life. Now what is being said that the Supreme Court has now remarked that granting a stay on the acquittal is the rarest of rare occurrence while hearing Maharashtra government's plea challenging the acquittal in the 2006 Mumbai train blast case of the 12 accused. Harish is with us right now. Harish, top court has stayed the Bombay High Court order. Please give us details.
Yes, that's right, Amita. At the outset, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who had appeared for the Maharashtra government and the anti-terrorist squad, said that he is not insisting on the stay of the release of the 12 convicts, 5 of them who were serving death row, saying that they have already been released and therefore he doesn't want to complicate things. But the Solicitor General insisted on stay on some remarks on the and the findings of the High Court on the certain questions of law and applicability of Makoka in such cases, saying that if these observations are not stayed, it will have serious repercussion impact on other pending Makoka trials. So it will be very important to know that the Supreme Court has not stayed the release, which means that none of these 12 convicts accused will have to return to jail. They don't have to be brought back to jail, but Supreme Court has only impose this stay on a limited aspect, that is certain very serious observations of the High Court or regarding questions of law and some observations regarding application of Makoka in this case. So now the Supreme Court has issued notice on the appeal filed by the Maharashtra government and the ATS, and has said that on that limited aspect there will be a stay. Remember, the Maharashtra government had rushed to the Supreme Court a day after the shocking acquittals, what they call, saying that it's a very serious issue. 5 of them were on death rows, and the High Court had erred in saying that Makoka did not apply to this case. Also, the High Court had ignored several key evidences like recovery of detonators, bombs, and also the role of several Pakistani nationals who are accused in this case. During the hearing, the Supreme Court had also asked what happens to the Pakistani accused, several of them who had been released. They might have left the country also. Eventually, if the Supreme Court overturns the High Court's judgment, what will be the measures to bring them back? The Solicitor General for Maharashtra said that all that can be seen later. For the time being, Supreme Court, what the Supreme Court should do is that immediately stay certain findings and observations of the High Court vis-a-vis application of Makoka in such cases, and certain findings regarding question of law. So on that limited aspect, there is a stay, but there is no stay on the release. In fact, of all these accused, all these convicts, Supreme Court observed that they have already been freed from the jail, and therefore Solicitor General said, therefore we are not pressing on bringing them back. We are not pressing that they should be brought back to jail, that they should return to jail. We only want to stay on limited aspect, that is findings of the High Court regarding the conclusion and observations of the court on certain questions
that
of
is
law.
in context, as Harish is putting across what the Supreme Court has specifically said. Arunil is also connected with us right now because, Arunil, what has now been said in court that there are certain findings of the law that will affect other Makoka trials as well. And that is why I was seeking as far as consideration of from the Supreme Court of saying that they may not be required to go back to jail, but to a certain extent a stay is required.
Well, this can be seen as a partial relief for the Maharashtra government as well as the ATS, which was investigating this case. If we remember, this horrific incident took place in 2006. 189 innocent lives were lost, and these were the 12 accused who were acquitted immediately. And what the observations that the Bombay High Court basically made was kind of a rap in the knuckles to the Maharashtra government, to the ATS as well. The Supreme Court now issuing a stay to the observations made in the court becomes a partial relief. Now, what kind of observations the special court in Bombay High Court really made? It said that basically these accused, they were tortured in custody. They also said that the CDRs were damaged. It also said that the witnesses were not called on time. So complete many loopholes related to the investigation were raised by the special court. It clearly was a massive setback for the Maharashtra government to the ATS as well. But now with the Supreme Court coming into the picture, obviously the Maharashtra government approached the Apex Court, and now the Apex Court saying that they are putting a stay on the observations that were made by the High Court. It can help in creating a precedence with respect to other Makoka cases as well, because what the observations that were made in relation to this stringent case, all these accused were charged in the stringent law of Makoka. It would have had a bearing on other further cases as well. At least this observation can be seen as a partial relief to the Maharashtra government, to the ATS, as well as other cases that have been investigated or tried in the similar charge.
All right. But as far as the observations, Harish, by the Supreme Court that has been made today, that they were already informed that all of the respondents or the accused in the case have been released. That means that there is no question of bringing them back to the prison.
Yes, that's right, Amita. In fact, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who had appeared for the Maharashtra government, had read the mind of the court, because a lot of arguments is required. Once an accused or convict is released from jail, it's only in a rarest of rare case that happens. After the release, and a convict is asked to come back to jail, and that needs time. The Maharashtra government will have to persuade and convince the court that it's a very rarest of rare case, and Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said that can happen later. Detailed arguments are required for that, but for the time being, it's fine if the accused and convicts are not asked to be brought back to jail, are not asked to go back to jail. But what is important is that several damaging observations have been made by the High Court on questions of law, and regarding applicability of Makoka in such a serious case in which more than 150 persons have died, and that will have a very serious impact, repercussion on other pending Makoka cases. And that is why the Maharashtra government and ATS had asked the Supreme Court to order a limited stay vis-a-vis these remarks, these observations, these findings on the applicability of Makoka, because it will affect the trials.
Taking note of the submission made by the SG on the question of law, saying that now they are inclined to hold that impunched judgment shall not be treated as a precedent. To that extent, there is a stay on the impunched judgment. However, the accused in the case who have been released may not be required to come back to prison. Thank you very much. This is a development that we are focusing from the Supreme Court of India. Harish and Arunil for joining in.